Good morning and welcome to the Women in Leadership Body, Mind, Soul, and Business podcast. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Heather.
And together we are working to connect women in leadership and business to build relationships and empower each other, improving the health and wellness of the community, body, mind, and soul. Today's special guest is Carol Lamar from Purrfect Pals. Welcome, Carol.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Carol, we are actually going to change things up this week, and we are going to have you introduce yourself to the world first. So why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So I am the Deputy Director at Purrfect Pals. We are a no-kill nonprofit cat shelter in Arlington, Washington. We've been around since 1988. Our founder, Kathy Santala, who is another amazing woman in leadership, she started Purrfect Pals in Briar back in 1988 because she just saw a need in her community. She tried to form the shelter in Briar, but Briar wasn't as eager to have a cat shelter. So she found the property here in Arlington and moved up here, and we've been here ever since. We specialize in special needs cats. So a lot of times what we're seeing here are cats with health issues, three-legged cats, one-eyed cats, diabetic cats, seizure cats. I mean, we run the gamut. We support our local shelters so that they don't get so full that they have to euthanize. But we also take public surrenders when people are no longer able to keep their cat. So as Deputy Director, I oversee the majority of the staff here and the flow of cats coming in and their medical care and them getting adopted with my amazing team.
Awesome.
And Lily, this is Lily, my supervisor, office cat.
It's so nice to have a supervisor that, sometimes talks back, sometimes gets in your way, but most of the time it's not a big deal, right?
Most of the time it's feed me, pet me, and then leave me alone.
So, Carol, I have known you for a very long time, and I understand your heart and your love for animals, but not everybody would understand that or see that. So tell me a little bit about your personal story, your why. I understand you just did some training, got a really awesome certification recently. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that too?
So I have to say that I think my love of animals really came from my mom. She was the kind of person where we would be driving down the road and she would whip over the side of the road, bail out of the car, and my brother and I would sit there and go, "Where'd she go?" And then she'd dive into the bushes and come back out with a cat in her arms. So I definitely feel like I came across it honestly. My whole life I've loved animals, and I love all sorts of animals, but I think I definitely have an affinity for cats. So I started here as a volunteer. I was looking for something to fill my time. And so I came with a friend and we cleaned rooms and hung out, pet cat, and then we'd go home. I started volunteering about 3 days a week. And at that point I was, do you guys have a job? I'm here all the time anyways. I might as well get paid for it. And at that point, I had never worked with animals. I'd had all sorts of pets, but never as a job. So I started off on what we call the cat care team, which is I was cleaning rooms. So a lot of litter boxes. I mean, there were about 200 cats in the shelter at the time. So you can imagine how many litter boxes, how many food bowls, mopping, sweeping, the whole thing. And over the years, I've just naturally been moved into positions of leadership. And so I've been here about 8 years now. And a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I had heard about the Association of Animal Welfare, and they have a certification called the Certified Animal Welfare Associate. And you have to be in leadership for so many years, and you have to have knowledge on not just animal care, but donor relations, fundraising, finances. There's a whole gamut of information you have to know. So I took that test in September and I passed. So I'm now officially CAWA certified in animal welfare. I know, I'm really excited.
Happy dance. Happy
You
dance.
can't see us doing our happy dance, but we're doing a dance for Carol. She worked really, really hard for the certification, and it was a lot to deal with everything else she was going through at the time. But we are so excited for you and that certification. We know that is a huge step, not only for you, but for the cats in your care, and the people that come to you. Now, you mentioned fundraising. Do you have any current fundraisers going? What's going on?
We are currently almost at the end of our annual fundraiser. We normally do what's called the Black Cat Ball, which is in person. The last 2 years, we've done what we call Masquerade, which is 100% online. And it's a silent auction. You can go to purrfectpals.org and there should be a link to take you to the Masquerade Ball. And like I said, we're towards the end of it, but you can still hop in. I believe it's $10 for a ticket to get in. And once you're in, you can look at all the items, you can bid on items. There's everything from, oh gosh, we have so much stuff in there. There's trips to Europe, but which, you know, of course, that's going to be a little bit more. And then there's also baskets with goodies. There's animal items, there's people items, there's alcohol, there's a lot of stuff. So if you're interested, feel free to go to our website at purrfectpals.org and hop in there and catch the tail end of it. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And when does that end again?
I believe it ends this Saturday, so tomorrow. I could be wrong, but I believe that's it.
Right. So last day, get in there. That's a great time to get in on anything that's an auction.
Right? Last day, you don't have to wait so long, right? To hear if you won or not.
This is when all of us who bid on things are like watching our items really close. So no one bids us at the last second.
Right.
Swiper, no swiping. Swiper, no swiping. Swiper, no swiping.
We don't have kids at all. I don't know what you're talking about. So other than caring for cats in the community and this upcoming fundraiser, is there any other things that you guys do within the community? I know you guys don't like sell products or things like that, but do you have like vet clinics and things like that to spay and neuter the cats?
So we have spay and neuter vouchers. So if you're in need of that resource, you can call or email us and then we can mail you out a voucher. And what that will do is then you can contact another organization that does this all the time, like Northwest Spay and Neuter, and you don't have to pay anything, and then they send us the voucher back and we actually pay for the service. And we also have a food bank, pet food bank. So that's by appointment only right now. So call us or go to our website for information on how to get a hold of us. Our main email is cats@purrfectpals.org. And people come.
So for that pet food bank, I have a question. Is that pet food bank just for cats or is it for animals of all kinds?
We end up with so many different types of donations. So we have cats and dogs, a lot of food for cats and dogs. We also every so often will come across chicken feed or even fish food. And it's just, it just depends who's donating and what we get. But there's almost always cat and dog food in there.
Okay, that's really good stuff to know. I didn't know there was a pet food bank.
Yeah.
That's really fun. And then the spay and neuter, yeah, that's also a really, really good program too. Let's see here. And then the contact information, and does Purrfect Pals have a Facebook page, website, social media contacts?
We are on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, we're just figuring out TikTok. So we do have a TikTok site. And in our website, it's purrfectpals.org. And I think you can actually link to most of our, if I am thinking correctly, I think links to our social media is on the website also.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Carol. And now we're going to go ahead and transition to our meditation with Warrior Yoga.
That's me. Okay. So not only do I co-host this wonderful podcast with Heather, but I also teach yoga. And with that, it's more than just stretching and exercise and postures. It's more about life and living in a more positive direction. And what that looks like for each person is different. So this week's meditation is from Meditations from the Mat by Rolf and Katrina Kenison. Sorry, I keep saying that wrong. We are on day 7 as we are on week 7, episode 7 of our podcast. We're so excited. Every blade of grass has its angel that bends over it and whispers, grow, grow. That's from the Talmud. Many of us have spent years trying to ameliorate the world's suffering without first confronting our own. The belief that it is possible to heal the world without healing ourselves first is what the Yoga Sutras call a lack of true knowledge. The truth is, when we are happy, we spread happiness. When we are in pain, we spread suffering. If our aim is to alleviate the world's suffering, we must begin with our own minds and bodies. We must do yoga. Each action taken in compliance with the 8-limb path brings with it an increase in our own peace and happiness. And our happiness is welcomed by the universe. We do not need to fear the steps we are about to take. In fact, we will experience each right action, no matter how small or insignificant, as a pleasure and a relief. With each step we take toward the light, the universe rejoices. When we let go of our suffering, we participate in the salvation of all living beings. Let's just take a few breaths. Breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Maybe shake the head a little bit, relieve some tension of the neck. Roll the shoulders back and down.
Remember not to close your eyes if you're driving, please.
Safety first. One more nice big deep breath together. Exhale slow. And let's talk about that for a minute. That was a lot of stuff. How often do we create our own suffering? Right? And we do things that, cause ourselves to suffering all the time. But what one thing to remember is I've always heard this, it's not, I don't know if it's quote or not, saying, phrase, hurting people hurt people. So
say that again.
Hurting people hurt people. Hurting people hurt people. So, and that goes back to Don Ruiz's 4 agreements, is to not take anything personally. What other people do and their reactions to you is a reflection of what they're going through, and it has nothing to do with you.
So true.
Isn't that just, so if our aim is to alleviate the world's suffering, we must begin with ourselves, our own minds and bodies. Because we can't, if we're in pain and we're suffering, we can't encourage others to make the light brighter,
live more vibrantly,
things like that.
I mean, like, do you want quality and quantity of life, or you're just trying to live as long as you can? So there can be a difference there,
right? And then this also goes back to the concept of universal intelligence, right? What you put out in the world will come back to you. You know, it's kind of like karma, but it's like universal intelligence. Like we decided, hey, we're gonna do this thing, and we don't know if we're gonna screw it up. We don't know what it's gonna look like, but we're just gonna go with it. And we put it out to the universe that this is something we're gonna do because we want to connect with other women and women in leadership and business. And you know, the universe is going to take care of the rest.
Yeah, and it has.
And it has.
As proof, we got Carol on here today helping us out.
Carol, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I think it's so true. And I think we, you know, that, oh, so many thoughts. You know, I have these conversations sometimes with the people that work here over the years where, you know, they're just struggling to find their happiness. They're struggling to find that place where they feel centered and whole. And, you know, it's I've had to sit people down and say, you know, I want you to be happy, healthy, and whole. So that's what I want to see. And you know, that might not be here. You know, that might mean that you need to find another position somewhere else, or you need to create boundaries. You know, in our industry, it's really rewarding, but it's also very hard. And there's a lot of emotions. Can you guys hear Lily meowing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cute.
Lily just wants to have her voice heard too.
Yes. So, you know, we deal with things like compassion fatigue and burnout. And really it starts with, you know, like the job's not going to change. It's always going to be hard. There's always going to be the emotional aspect of it. But it starts with learning how to be introspective and how to learn to identify when you need to create those boundaries and when you need to take a break. And I really think, you know, I don't expect people to be happy like that. It's more of finding that inner peace and that contentedness in what you're doing. And you're going to have hard days and hard situations. But if the job is just sucking the life out of you, it's time to kind of sit there and really have those hard conversations of like, is this where I need to be? How can I find that place to be centered again? You know, I do guided meditations. I, you know, work out. Some days it helps to do a really hard workout that gets my cardio going. And other days I need that rest in those guided meditations to help like reset my mind and my spirit. And so it's just so important that we take care of ourselves first. And as women, I think we're geared to be caretakers. So we tend to take care of everybody else first.
Yep.
But yeah.
There's so many types of self-care. I was really surprised. It's something I delved into like this last year. I never really thought about there being, you know, I always thought self-care was, you know, mani-pedis and, you know, you got your hair done or something, but there's so much more to it. Like taking the time to calm and be calm as women. I think that's really important for us, especially while we're running businesses. We're moms, we're moms.
Raising kids, raising husbands, you know, just doing all the things.
And then in a job like yours, you've got, you know, babies basically that need all the attention. They're not, you know, they give you a great purr and they're sweet, but they need a lot of love and extra attention. And I like that when we talked about, how did you say it? The fatigue.
Compassion fatigue.
That it's that common also for parents to get, like to think about that, like you're giving all the time to your kids. Like if you're not filling up you, eventually you're going to run out. Like,
yep, you can't burn the candle at both ends and expect the light not to go out, right?
Right. I think that too, we talk about compassion fatigue in our industry, but what people don't realize is that it does carry into our personal lives too. You know, as I'm here and I'm taking care of the cats, and in my role, I'm also trying to take care of my staff. but I have 2
Mhm.
teenagers at home and a spouse. I have a lot of pets at home. So when I go home, sometimes it doesn't stop, and I think, we have to acknowledge that it's in all areas of our life. It's not just, well, I left work. Why am I still feeling like this? Well, because now you're taking care of your kids and cooking dinner and grocery shopping and balancing the budget and making sure everything's done and then falling into bed and doing it all over the next day.
Right, right. And even just like 5 to 10 minutes a day of self-care for yourself can be
That's
huge.
amazing.
Take an extra long shower, enjoy the warmth, and just breathe for a few minutes. Lock yourself in the bathroom if you have to, right? Because that's like the favorite parent escape, right? We run off to the bathroom. Go grocery shopping by yourself. So go for a drive, just to clear your head. And I know gas prices aren't all that great for going for a drive right now, but spend a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes a day on yourself and your own mental health, because if you don't, you'll burn out so fast. And I've been there.
I want to
So many
say
times.
too, like, don't just go, oh, I'm going to spend 5 minutes today and I'll do 5 minutes tomorrow, and then don't keep it up. Because what happens is you actually train yourself to relax in that 5 minutes. So, at first you might need a half hour before you start to relax. But as you get used to allowing yourself to relax, you can be like, I'm going to go rest for 5 minutes and literally only need 5 minutes. So that could be the future goal.
Right.
I mean, don't think you're going to start there. I don't want people to think that it just, oh, boom, I'm relaxing. Like, it's really learning to connect to yourself. There's a whole process to it. So keep connecting with us, and we'll keep teaching different pieces.
Yeah, a little bit at a time. Speaking of which, this week's reading from the Path of the Yoga Sutras, we're on chapter 7. Our Sanskrit word this week is Variaga. Okay. It means non-attachment to sensory objects. Okay. The secret of happiness lies in the mind's release from worldly ties. That's from the Buddha. When our attention is drawn outward, our heart mind becomes entangled in the complex net of everyday activity. Attachments to things develop until we are so involved with them that we lose perspective, identifying ourselves in terms of outer names and forms. As we slow down and turn inward, connecting with our inner light of awareness that quietly watches everything happening, we naturally lose interest in external, transient objects. We realize that the ups and downs of life come and go, ever spinning around the motionless hub of Purrfect. Variaga is characterized by an indifference to objects and a detachment from them. When an object is perceived, it can produce an attraction, which can lead to an attachment. Over time, the attachment may grow into a craving, and not experiencing the object again will upset us. If we are unaffected by the presence or absence of something, then Variaga is happening. For example, you climbed to the top of the corporate ladder and became attached to the power, control, and money that came with it. Then the company was bought out and you lost your position. If you had become attached to the image of yourself as powerful, you might feel lost at sea without your job. But if you were able to do your job without attaching your identity to it, you will experience this change without anxiety or fear. Actions repeated over and over create deep habitual patterns, or samskaras, in our consciousness, and usually influence future action. Variaga is to not allow our past action patterns, addictions, or strong desires to affect our focus. Diligent practice, or abhyasa, directed inward, will, over time, cultivate Variaga. For example, as you meditate regularly and reach the point at which you feel connected to the ever-present divine light of awareness, you want to stay there as long as possible. When your attention returns to the outer world, things that you now know are temporary do not seem to matter as much. Your priorities may shift. If you are approaching old age and have accumulated a lot of money, you may realize that you will not be happier by letting, or you may realize that you will be happier by letting some of that go to those who really need it. Consciously directing our desires inward is different than attempting to restrict our outer desires. Wants and needs are part of the living in a society. We cannot live without them. It is natural to desire and enjoy being around people you care about, to be attracted to beautiful things, or even to have fun with the latest electronic gadget. There's nothing inherently wrong with desiring something. Artificially withholding from ourselves goes against the natural flow of life and is not Variaga. But if we cannot fulfill our desires, if we cannot have what we want, do we become angry or frustrated? If so, then we are attached to those desires and therefore psychologically bound by them. Variaga is in place when we are okay either way. Whether or not our desires are satisfied, the inner contentment that grows from connecting to our inner light of awareness makes us not care as much about our outer desires. When our primary desire is to experience the divinity within, then external objects lose their appeal. The process of Variaga occurs in stages. First, we identify an attachment by observing how we are spadvaya when we do not get what we want. If we are thrown off center, then attachment is there. Next, we play with the attachment by occasionally not fulfilling the desire for it. Next, over time, we notice ourselves detached from the weaker attachments, but still connected to the stronger ones. Eventually, even the strong attachments go away, and we lose our desire for them. In the final stage, we tackle internal attachments, such as our reputation, asmita klesha, aversions, devesha klesha, and habits, samskaras. Another school of thought outlines the steps leading up to the state of Variaga. First, as our desire turns inward, outer desires become less tempting. Over time, we naturally develop an attitude of non-attachment. Then the sensory organs become detached from objects, but the tendency for attachment remains in the mind. Eventually, there is no more effort or conflict, and desire for the object has gone away. Variaga and abhyasa are necessary for quieting and distracting thoughts and emotions. Yoga as Nirodha, but are considered pillars of yoga that, with viveka, form the backbone of yoga practice. During meditation, abhyasa is the effort exerted to stay on the point of focus, while Variaga pulls our wandering attention back to the focus. For example, let's say you are meditating. You begin to focus on your chosen object. After a few seconds or minutes, those pesky little vrittis distract you and carry your attention elsewhere. At some point, you become aware that you are in vritti land and bring yourself back to the focus. This awareness can be considered Variaga. Variaga is not a struggle with desires, but the result of an enduring abhyasa that naturally leads to a disinclination toward worldly desires. The goal is to keep our heart-mind focused on the inner light of awareness that is inside of us and all other sentient beings. The more our attention is there, the happier we are. Letting go of outer attachments unloads a burden that is weighing us down and keeping us from experiencing the freedom that is yoga. Couple of thoughts. Attachment to that which inevitably changes causes suffering. As my heart-mind turns inward, I become less and less affected by external objects and conditions. I will be deeply content when I do not depend on material things to be happy. Think of situations in which remaining indifferent is helpful to yourself and others. Are you able to be that way? Why or why not? Identify possible attachments associated with the situation. How can you detach from them? Let's talk about that for a minute. Okay, So I look at detachment from sensory objects in a very, I don't know, Marie Kondo kind of way. You know, does it bring me joy or does it not, right? And you know, that thought process is very much Variaga, right? You know, this cup right here, it brings me joy. I love it. A friend gave it to me, and it reminds me to be brave. It says brave on it.
It's got a cute heart on it. It's,
it's just a little stoneware coffee mug, but you know, it was something, it means something to me. I like it, but at the same time, if it broke, I mean, I would probably be sad for a minute, but I'm not attached to it in a way that, you know, I would, you know,
The
be
world would
overly upset.
end.
The world would not end, you know. It's so
we all know that person when
Yeah.
something broke and they just totally freaked out. I'm not that person. I'm like, things break, like
right.
milk spills, things happen.
And sometimes it's not necessarily the person though. Sometimes it could just be that item for that person.
Right.
You know, maybe they're not attached to all the things in the world. But there's just that one thing that's just
like
so special
when
to them.
Grandma's, great grandma's jewelry box got busted.
Yeah,
that was
something like that.
heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh, well, I don't have that piece of her anymore. You know, like that was hard. I can see that. Definitely.
So Carol, how do you deal with attachments to things?
I feel totally called out by that passage.
Isn't that weird? We don't plan that. I was like, I did not plan this previous conversation. We read this either. I didn't read ahead. I was like, but yeah.
You know, I definitely, personally, I do, you know, I have cried when I've broken things. And over the years, I think I've gotten better about, you know, this is the item, this isn't the memory, this is just the item, right? As long as I still have the memory, I still have that, the item is not gonna make or break things, right? I have struggled over the years with having some like idea of what I should be doing, where I should be in life, and being extremely attached to that, which really creates a lot of unhappiness when you're not able to attain it, or you're not even close to attaining it. You spend a lot of time unhappy in your current situation because you're not where you think you could be, you know.
Right, and that is a total, that is, you know, that's still Variaga, but it's not something you can touch, but it's something that is internal.
I think that's a big one, especially while we're in business and we're trying to you know, herd a ship in a direction and it won't turn. Like, I really wanted to go this direction, and I call that noticing it. Am I attached to how I get somewhere, or am I attached to the outcome? Like, if I'm attached to how I get there, then I can miss my outcome by miss the path like entirely. Like, so I have to be careful where I put my focus. Like I'm focused on the end goal, but do I need to be attached to how I get there? Maybe I need to listen and be calm and see where I need to be.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, Reed. Oh yeah, no, and I think, you know, it's a process for sure. It's not something that changes overnight. It's not something you can just wake up one day and be like, okay, I'm good, you know. But I do notice as I'm able to release some of that and not be so attached to either items or concepts, that my life is a lot more peaceful, living in the here and now, and just, you know, not being as concerned about all the things, you know. I'm not 100% there yet, though. I'll tell you, there's still some things that I take off the top of my head where I'm like, well, if something happened to that, I'd probably be really upset.
Right. And you know, again, it's not just about stuff, right? there's emotional attachments that we have to different ideas, different people, different things, and being able to notice whether or not you have that emotional attachment and whether or not that attachment is a healthy one, I think is a huge part of that. And then also being able to work through if this person, if this thing, if this idea, or this concept doesn't work the way I want it to, if I don't reach the goals the way I think it should be reached, and not, again, not being attached to the outcome. It's a process. It's a huge process, and I am still figuring it out. I'm not perfect, and
I think one of the things is too is knowing like where you're strong at. So I would imagine I should not foster cats because I'm going to get attached to them, and like hard. It would be really hard for me.
We call those, we used to call those foster failures. Now we call them foster wins, because it does happen often enough that, and it's, I have, let's see, 2 of mine were fosters that I kept. So it happened.
Yeah, for sure. That concludes our reading portion of the day, but if you guys are interested in personal private one-on-one yoga consultations, I do have some space available. And so you can shoot me a message on Warrior Yoga Stanwood Facebook page at warrioryogastanwood@gmail, or give me a call or text at 425-501-9271 to get a hold of me for those. I am still offering virtual yoga classes on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via Zoom. And that's kind of what I've been up to besides this wonderful podcast, and then also working with Heather. But Heather's going to go and tell you about what she's up to.
All right. So over in the world of BioRains, we have a virtual convention tomorrow. New things are happening. I got a box in the mail that I'm not supposed to open till tomorrow. It's like haunting me. I was hoping that maybe we would leave it in the mailbox, but I couldn't. Andy, go get it for me, please. So it's haunting me on the counter right now.
It's like getting your Christmas present early, but you can't open it until Christmas. It's like,
I'm excited about my VIP package for tomorrow's event to see what's in there and what we're doing, and the direction we've been growing at the company has been pretty amazing. So what Bio is it's a nutrition supplement, no white labels, very clean ingredients, less ingredients is better. There's no fillers or anything nasty in our products, and they've taken really hard to absorb ingredients and wrap them up in a cute little package so our bodies can just use them. And I love it. My favorite product right now is probably the ABC gummies, apple cider vinegar gummies, where probiotic. There's the word. I keep messing up that pre-post, stuff. The biotics, and I love that they're protected to get into the part of my body that my body needs to use. So that's really exciting, and it makes for lubed bathroom experiences. Like it's not a difficulty, which was really hard for me before my surgery. So our top 3 products this week are Limitless, which is our energy capsule. We call it our Get SHIT Dawn. It really focuses your brain. It gives you it's brain food. It's got brain nootropics in it.
I've been using it, and like my brain fog that I normally have in the morning, and it takes me a little while to get going, has not been there. I've been able to focus right away once it kicks in, and which has only been about 23 minutes.
Yeah. It really starts to absorb. It absorbs sometimes as little as 10 minutes. Like you start to feel it. focus at about 30 minutes after. You're like, just like you naturally get focused on what it was you needed to do for your day. You're like, oh, I want from 0 to 60 in 5 points. Okay. Our next product of the week is Hydrate, which is really great. Everyone needs water multipliers in their life. My favorite part of this one is that the minerals that are in it all come from the Great Salt Lake, which have all of the base minerals our body needs. So if you're taking Hydrate Daily, you're getting all the essential minerals your body needs, which is super exciting. The Bio Relief Lotion I thought was interesting. They made it up on the top. I'm like, it's the signs of the time of the year. It's getting cold and creaky and everybody's getting sore. So the Bio Relief Lotion's awesome. You just only need like a little tiny dab. I wish I had some, but one of the kids stole it, so I was like, okay. I know you're a waitress and your body hurts. Here you go. So she ran out and she stole my bottle, so we both need to reorder now. Oh, speaking of reordering, that's a great time to do that. I need to do that. We have a buy one get one 50% off sale right now.
That's huge. That is huge.
That is super awesome. So great time to stock up. So if you need to contact me, you can contact me here through the podcast. I'm on Facebook, all over the place as Heather Ross. Rainbow Powers, that's me. Rainbow's my nickname. I am all the colors of the rainbow. You see them all with me. So I wanted to move right into some local community events. Oh wait, I should pause, right? I should talk a little bit about October. We are so excited. We have open enrollment coming up. It's the end of the year, so this is the time everyone needs to be looking at things. We can, if your insurance doesn't reset till April, this is a great time to get in and get talking about is what you have still good. But the exchange will be open. So especially in the business world, if you or your employees don't have insurance, but you have to purchase it, this is a great time to get in on the exchange. You can get those discounts.
Yeah, and this is more supplemental voluntary insurance.
Well, I was talking regular health
life
insurance too.
health insurance.
I was talking the exchange is regular health insurance. So that's
I'm still learning.
yeah. So this is that time we can get people enrolled into those things. So you're in the income where you have to start paying for it, but it's a scary thing to talk about because sometimes that number scares you. So we can work with the exchange to bring that number down to a less scary number for you and your family. Make sure you're protected, and then you have everything you need to have. So and we can do that for you and your employees. So if it's not something you offer your employees, you can just offer your employees. We can do that part for you. You don't have to, have an actual benefit package. Then we can move in and talk about if you are ready to move into a benefit package as being a woman in leadership and you're ready for your business to have benefits. Well, that's a great conversation we can have with Melinda and Sedana at the October company and see when it is you need to have that benefit package. But right now you can offer health insurance to your employees and it doesn't cost you a thing because that all part. Pretty exciting. I love it. So we're setting lots of appointments. We've been busy. That's what Charlie and I do. We set up appointments. We love to talk to people. We get talking on the phone. We talk to them online. We're everywhere talking to people. We go in person sometimes.
If you're interested in booking an appointment to get your coverages looked at, give us a call. Our calendar is booking fast, and we want to get you in for that open enrollment period, which
you don't want to miss
through
it.
November, right?
Yeah. So yeah, we want to get you scheduled ASAP.
Yeah, and as of right now, we have almost the first 2 weeks of November booked. So if you're interested in that, get a hold of us right away. We'd love to book you an appointment, and it doesn't cost you anything. Yeah, for that initial appointment, yeah.
And if you're not a talker on the phone, you can text me at 360-722. Again, that is 360-722-9104. 888-941-04. Give us a text and we'll get you set up with an appointment. Now let's move into some local events because that's super duper fun. So this weekend is Halloween, in case you missed that, in case you've been living under a rock, in case you can't calendar right, it is here.
It is this weekend.
And next week is November. But next week's November, just in case your brain's not calendaring like mine. Okay, so I wrote down some local events. So on Saturday, the Copper House is doing a balloon wall and some giveaways for kids. So come on down to the Copper House here in Stanwood. They're doing some giveaways. And then on Sunday, Charlie and I are going to hit downtown Stanwood and be dressed up. So you're going to want to come out and see that. We're going to give treats out. It's called Ghouls Night Out Trick or Treat Spectacular, and it starts at 1 p.m. on Sunday. That is downtown Stanwood. So it starts by the police station. It includes Terry Dexter, who we've had on the show, the Scattered Deck, Stanwood Cupcakes, and that whole little area right there.
That little downtown strip.
Yeah.
That historical downtown strip.
Yeah, so super excited about that. I was talking with the owners of Scattered Deck last night. They're very excited to be new in the community, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna take the kids so that we can, when husband and wife own a business, that's what happens, right? One's taking the kids off trick or treat and one's gonna be part of the community. So that's a really great family run little shop. If you guys haven't checked that out, they have board games and they do Magic the Gathering, and my son loves Pokemon League, and so they have all the things. You can find them on Facebook at the Scattered Deck or Scattered Deck or the Scattered. I'm sorry, I didn't plan to punt. I didn't write that one down. That one just came out. All right. I know that downtown Arlington is also having some things, and I meant to write those down too, but I didn't get over there this morning. I'm sorry.
All the information for the downtown Arlington things can be found on the local Arlington Facebook pages, the Arlington Living, the Downtown Business Association, the Arlington Chamber of Commerce, all have different things.
Google on Facebook. Okay, so search on Facebook, because Google's a verb, right? Search on Facebook, trick or treating Arlington. You'll find all the information. There's lots of things going on, lots of kids safe stuff. Everybody's wearing your masks. Everyone's being careful. We care about our community. Everyone's coming from a really caring place when they're putting these things together. Of course, if you're sick or your kids are sick, don't go out. Let us know if you need something dropped off. Like, gosh, we'll bring you a dinosaur, like with some treats or something. Like, we'll work with you. Like, message us. Like, if you are stuck at home this weekend because of the C word, because of sniffles, I would be happy, and I know that we would be happy as the October Code to drop off some treats to you and your kids, to just bring some of the holiday spirit to you. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. We really want to
October Code, Halloween is our favorite holiday of the year.
We literally mark it off of our schedules and make sure that we take time to enjoy this holiday with our kids. We feel like it's real. I have always loved Halloween because it was a holiday I could make my own. It didn't have any of the weird family traditions or stress that some of the other holidays have. And I always was able to have my kids on Halloween, and I love it. That's my thing. All right, some other things we have coming up. Some of our business family looks like Renee Hall with Hall Insurance Agency is having a holiday bash and benefits, and I can share the link for people to register for that. That is next week on November 4th from 6 to 9:30. It is in Marysville, and she has a couple of artists coming to play at the Opera House.
Yeah, there's going to be dinner, live music, dancing, all kinds of fun stuff.
And she has our, there's still some tickets available. They're $45. And it is, the thing says register:bit.ly/bash and benefit. So I will share that link because that's a little crazy. And Rhonda is on the from Coastal. I'm sorry, everyone should know who Rhonda is. Come on. But Rhonda from Coastal Bank is on the committee for the Marysville Food Bank's toy drive, and they do an amazing job. Really are looking for stuff for older kids, teenagers. They're harder. They have lots of stuff for the little ones, but the older kids are harder to get stuff.
Yeah,
for,
and teenagers love things like makeup kits, Legos,
earbuds, headphones, anything like that to help them connect to their
even
music.
charger cables.
Ooh, charger cables will be a really good one.
Just all kinds of different things when you think of the older kids, because a lot of these toy drives get tons of donations for the younger kids, like the elementary school and under, but not very many things for the middle school and high school kids. So when you go out and you donate to a toy drive locally, you can always reach out to them and ask them, what do you need? But the likelihood of them needing things for those older kids is much, much higher.
I love what Rhonda said too. She's happy to take a check and do the shopping for you.
Yeah.
I was like, that's great.
If you are local to the Arlington, Stanwood, Marysville area and would like to donate and don't have a way to deliver the donations, again, reach out to us. I can swing by, pick that stuff up and drop it off with Rhonda at Coastal or
So I know that Arlington does a similar thing and Stanwood does too. So if you want to donate to your local city, usually you will find those things associated with your local food banks. So if you're not in our local area and you wanted to participate in something, I would reach out to your local food bank and ask them what they're doing for the holidays for a toy drive, or ask them, how they're taking their food donations, what is it they need, because we don't want to end up with 552 pallets of top ramen. Okay. So just find out what is a need in your local community. It's a quick Google, and everyone's super nice when you call the local food banks. Nobody is really rude. They're not. They're used to dealing with a diverse population, and they do help people that are low income, but they also help those people that are in transition from low income to getting on their feet.
Or even if you're just having a struggle, like maybe you've been laid off from work and are between jobs or whatever the case may be, and you just need a little bit of help with things like groceries and whatnot, reach out to your local community food bank, and there's a lot of things available for people. And I know that these last couple of years have been a struggle for everybody, and don't feel like if you're in that spot of struggling and you just need like a week or two of groceries, don't be afraid to reach out to the local food bank, because that's what they're there for.
I liked one of the tips that Goodwill tells their people in their little classes. This one stuck with me, like I overheard it. They say, okay, I want you to go to the food bank so you can pay your phone bill. So don't spend money on food if you need to pay another bill. Try the food bank, see what you can get. They do have donations for different kinds of like dietary needs restrictions. You're not mandated to take things that you can't eat. Like, don't feel like you have to take it if you can't eat it. Take it. Take it. You don't have to just take it because they give it to you. So that was a tangent. Here we go again. Carol,
it is that
do you
time of
guys
year.
have anything going on coming up in the next couple months?
We so through Perfect Health is that So we do have our Christmas cards coming out soon. So you can go online and you can either purchase one to get sent to someone else, or you can buy one for yourself. But they feature our kitties here at the shelter.
How
So
fun.
it's a great gift, to send to someone. It's kind of like saying, hey, we donated towards this cat on your behalf, and there's usually, I believe there's a little blurb in there about the kitties, but we go around sometimes and do a little Christmas photo shoots ahead of time to have really cute cards. So we got some great pictures on them. So those should be coming out soon. But usually, let's see, I'm trying to think. If you follow us on Facebook, you'll be able to see if we have any fundraisers coming up, any events. We've been a little low on events right now just because of social distancing and everything. But every so often we might get a cat that needs really specific specialized care, and it does cost a lot of money. So we'll put a fundraiser up on our Facebook page. So if anyone wants to donate towards that cat's care, then they can do that.
I like
So
your GoFundMe for the kitty.
yeah. So because we like I said, we get a lot of special needs cats in here. So we have some great partnering veterinarians from other clinics that will help us out and see the kitties. But of course, it still costs because they have to make their livelihood too. So to make sure that we're able to pay those. So we will. So we usually ask social media, our followers on there, to see if they want to donate towards their care. So yeah, and then on our social media, you'll be updated on cats that get adopted, their stories. We get follow-up stories sometimes. So I think the best way to keep up with what we're doing is to follow us on social media, because we do have a great presence on there, and things get updated quite a bit. So yeah.
Looking forward to some kitty TikTok.
Right? Me
Yeah.
too.
We're still pretty new with that, but there are some really cute videos on there. Like right now we have 2 cats, Carson and Firefly, and they're both FIV positive. And they are in a room with other FIV cats, and they never met each other until they came here, but they act like they've been best friends for their entire lives. They play together, they chase each other around. So we're gonna try our best to adopt them together, keep them in a home together. But we've got a couple cute videos and pictures of them playing together. They're just so cute.
I can't wait to go look.
I can't
See,
do
now
that.
I'm gonna get off this podcast
I have a
and be like,
great
okay, I
reason
can
to
go
go to TikTok now.
Right. I think that pretty much sums up our podcast for today. We are right on time, actually. I would like to take a minute to thank today's sponsors: Warrior Yoga, Heather Ross Wellness, the October Company, and Purrfect Pals with our guest, Carol Lamar. Be sure to follow us on social media at Women in Leadership BSMB, and listen to us on Spotify and pretty much almost anywhere podcasts can be found. We're getting in all the places. And if you're interested in being part of our podcast, please email us at womeninleadershipbsmb@gmail.com. Thank you for joining us today on the Women in Leadership Body, Mind, Soul, and Business podcast. We'll see you next time. Namaste.